Hi everyone, Matt Watson here from CarWow. So here I have the very latest Audi RS6. The perfect car for moving house as fast as you can, or going on holiday with your family and then while at the beach, heading off to a track day. It's also ideal for scaring your big Labrador dog as you hoon it around the twisty roads. So in this video, I'm going to review it. And to do that, I'm going to talk you around the exterior upgrades over the standard A6. The calipers have 10 pistons. Show you what's new inside. There's red on the seat belts as well. Tell you about the mechanical upgrades. It tops out 189 miles an hour. And of course, take it for a drive. And I might just 0 to 60 off the edge of a cliff. Now, before we get into all of that, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on so you're alerted when we make a new upload. Let's start this review by talking about the design upgrades over the normal A6. So the only bits that the RS6 shares with that car are the tailgate, the roof and the front doors. Everything else is new. You get a slightly larger roof spoiler. Then here at the back, the tail lights have black effect on them as standard. Obviously there's the RS6 badging and a completely new rear bumper. You've also got huge RS oval exhaust pipes, which on the upgraded sports exhaust have a black surround. There is some fake ventage going on here, but that's very Audi, we're used to that now. Moving down the sides, you'll notice you've got these pronounced wheel arches. So the track is actually wider by 4 centimeters each side, and that goes into the door, which is all new, so you can blend in from those haunches. You've also got these big side skirts as well, and the car sits low to the ground over the standard A6 for a sportier look and improved handling. Then as we move forward, you've got color-coded door mirrors. You can get them in black, in carbon or satin silver, depending on which pack you go for, and it's the same for the surrounds of the windows as well. Alloy wheels are big on this car, standard in the UK, 21 inch. These are the optional 22s. Yet again at the front, the track is wider each side by 4 centimeters and the wheel arches are nicely pronounced. So too is a bulge in the bonnet, which you don't get on the standard A6, so it just looks beefier. Moving to the front, the RS6 gets the A7's headlamps, and you can upgrade them to laser lights if you want to be a little bit more BMW. Now the grille is all new, and in fact it sits about 5 centimeters further forward than the standard A6. That's to give enough room for the V8 engine underneath the bonnet and sufficient crash protection for pedestrians. As a result, the bonnet kind of goes a bit lower and looks a little bit more like that of the R8. It is super aggressive. Also, you can change the color coding as well depending on which pack you go for, and you've got RS6 badging there. Lots of fake vintage here and here and here as well. But I spoke to a guy from Audi and he said that they actually tried it with open vents to see if it improved the aero, but in the wind tunnel it didn't, so they just blocked them up and they just used them for a styling feature. Do you know what? I'm actually going to forgive them on this one occasion because I think this thing looks absolutely stunning. In fact, I reckon it's the best looking of all the super powerful German family cars. Do you agree with me or not? Click on the pop-out banner up there to vote. Yay, I'm with Matt, or no, he's completely lost the plot. Here on the inside, the most obvious upgrade over the standard A6 are the RS style sport seats. They're really nice and contoured. They're made out of Valcona leather, which is super soft. As well as being heated, they're cooled, and obviously they're fully electric. And you have this red honeycomb stitching effect. In fact, there's lots of red stitching on this car, such as here. You get it here on the gear gaiter as well. You've got it on the steering wheel, and you've also got it here on the door handles. The RS6 also gets some RS-specific floor mats. There's aluminium pedals as well. I like the fact you've got a little red surround for the starter button. Looks a bit more racy. And then, of course, there's the RS steering wheel, which is flat-bottomed. It's got the RS logo on it as well. It also has extended paddle shifters for the gearbox, and they are made out of aluminium, so they feel nicer to touch. The steering wheel is nice to touch as well because it's covered in Alcantara, as is the gear selector. Now, as standard, you get the 3 digital screens, and I quite like the fact that Audi has done this little detail of making sure it's an RS car, not just the standard A6 that you see on the screen. Then there's the RS specific sport styles that you have, and various other functions such as lap timers and acceleration measure, so you can do stunning quarter times and 0 to 60 times just using the onboard computer. You also get RS specific dials for the heads-up display if you have that as an option. In fact, there's loads of options to be had on this car. You can alter these inserts. You can have aluminium, you can have wood, you can have carbon fibre. The starting price of this car is £92,000, but after a few options you're looking at over £100,000. Obviously the biggest upgrade on the RS6 is the fact it's the only A6 that you can get with a V8 engine. It's a 4-litre twin turbo with 600 horsepower and 800 newton meters of torque, and it's good for 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.6 seconds, and will top out at 155 miles an hour. Then you can pay a bit extra for it to top out out at 174 miles an hour, or you can pay a bit extra still, so it tops out 189 miles an hour. It's fitted with mild hybrid technology, so when you're cruising along, you can lift off the accelerator and it'll coast. Also, the stop-start system will engage when you're actually slowing down for a junction. Doesn't have to wait until you stop. Then it has cylinder deactivation as well, and all of that is designed to help improve the fuel economy. So this is one of the reasons the RS6 is a supercar for the family man, because there's loads of room in the back seats for your kids or your in-laws. But there is RS-iness as well. So you've got the RS Sport seats here with the red stitching, and there's red on the seat belts as well, which is really cool. Another reason the RS6 is such a great family rocket ship is that being an estate, you've got a big boot. There's 565 litres of space in there, so perfect if you've got a big dog. However, if you've got a really big dog, something like an English Mastiff, you may want to look at a Mercedes AMG E63 S estate instead, because that has an extra 75 litres of boot space. And that brings you on to 5 annoying things about the RS6. Audi's changed the design of its RS performance dials for the virtual cockpit. It used to be round, which I loved, whereas this is kind of like a weird shaped rev counter. Not so keen. These sport seats are great if you're in the front. However, they're quite wide, so it means that you don't get a good view out if you're sat behind them. Have a look for yourself. That can be quite annoying, especially if your little child might get a touch travel sick. Though, to be fair, most kids will just be on their iPads anyway. If you want your RS6 to sound as good as it can, you have to pay extra for the sports exhaust. Annoyingly though, if you then want to show off how good it sounds to your friend when you're stationary, you can't, because it has a soft limiter, this engine. So it stops you revving past 3,500 RPM when you're stationary. And your friend's just going to be like, I don't know why you bother paying extra for the sports exhaust. It's not worth it. The RS6 weighs 2.1 tonnes, which means it's almost 200 kilos heavier than the BMW M5 competition. Audi's 8-speed automatic gearbox uses a traditional torque converter rather than a dual clutch system like you get in Porsche's PDK in the Panamera. But seeing as Porsche and Audi are part of the VW group, why didn't Audi just borrow the better gearbox from Porsche? Don't worry, there's still plenty to like about this car. Here's the carwow 5 core features. The RS6 gets a proper quattro all-wheel drive system with a Torsen diff in the middle. It can send up to 75% of the engine's power to the front or 85% to the rear wheels. Then in the UK, as standard, we get a sport rear quattro differential, which can send 100% of the power that's gone to the rear wheels to either outside wheel for maximum traction to push you around a turn. You have 2 configurable RS modes, so you can alter things like the drive, the suspension, the steering, the engine sound and quattro sport differential. The RS2 mode lets you do all that, but also have the ESP in sport mode, and you actually toggle between each of those settings using an easy access button on the steering wheel. This thing is fitted with some massive brakes. You've got 420mm discs at the front, 370s at the back, and at the front the calipers have 10 pistons. Plus, you can upgrade to carbon ceramic brakes, and they reduce the unsprung mass all round by 34 kilos. The RS6 gets rear wheel steering, so at lower speeds it turns the back wheels in the opposite direction to the front to aid low speed manoeuvrability. Then at higher speeds the back wheels turn in the same direction as the front for improved high speed stability. The RS6 gets upgraded stiffer suspension over the normal A6. You can also get it with special dampers which are linked, so when the car is driving along and you go into a corner, it can prop up the wheels on the outside to stop it leaning so much. You can also get it with air suspension, and yet again it's upgraded over the air suspension you get on the normal A6, so it sits 20mm lower to the ground. Plus, when you go over 74 miles an hour, it drops by a further 10mm. Only, of course, you'll never experience that in the UK because our maximum speed limit is 70 miles an hour. Okay, let's see what this RS6 is like to drive. So, as with most RS cars, when you're just driving normally, it feels like an A6. It's quite relaxing, pretty chilled. On the motorway, it just chews up the miles and it's super quiet. And of course you can get the clever cruise control system that's adaptive, so it'll keep you a safe distance from the car in front, steer to keep you in lane, and also shunting you along in stop-start traffic. This particular car is fitted with normal coil springs, and that is easily comfy enough for just wafting you along. When you don't just want to be wafted, this thing will come alive. So you whack it into sports mode and off you go. Tell you what, the faster you go, the better this coil spring suspension gets. It seems to just glide over the bumps a bit better when you're going quicker. Now on these twisty mountain roads, this RS6 for a big car is doing really well. You can thank the rear wheel steering for that. It just makes it turn so tightly, keeps it super stable. And of course with that quattro all-wheel drive, you can get on the power super soon and it just slingshots you out of a bend. This thing handles really well. It feels much smaller than it actually is. Now I would like to give you a 0 to 60 time in this car, but these roads are too twisty and I might just 0 to 60 off the edge of a cliff. So if you want to see how quick this car goes from 0 to 60, oh, that's brutal. And that is it. So the lap timer says 0 to 62 in 3.5 seconds. It's the same engine, same car pretty much. Now unlike a BMW M5, you can't switch it into rear wheel drive mode for total hooligan action, but do you want to? RS buyers are a little bit more civilized, aren't they? And it still handles really, really well, though the M5 does just seem a little bit sharper. The gearbox maybe isn't quite as responsive, but this engine, oh, it's got so much grunt from whatever revs you're doing. It just hauls ass. I'm starting to make myself feel a little bit sick because of the speed this thing can go around the bends. I'm impressed. And you know it's going to be so quick, whatever the weather. What a car. So then, what's my final verdict on the Audi RS6? Well, it's easily got all the performance you could ever need. It drives nicely, maybe not as sharp as a BMW M5, but really does that matter? What really matters is the way this thing looks. And if you ask me, it is the best looking of all the German super saloon and super estate cars. And that's why I'd pick it.